Hey, what's good, everybody? You're watching Know This. We're coming to you from sunny Los Angeles, California. I am joined by two dear friends of mine who are amazing artists and writers. Alicia Zakon, who is a writer and educator, and Nijla Mu'min, who is a writer, filmmaker, and photographer. So thank you all for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
So we're gonna have a little girl talk. We go back. We met in Poetry for the People, a program at UC Berkeley that obviously was about poetry, was about expressing ourselves, and they are two individuals, you all are two individuals that I think really stand out in terms of your work, and just you have powerful voices that you use to express your identities, which isn't always an easy thing for people to do, to just be so transparent with your lives in your art. Each of you has individual work that you're doing. I know that you're coming out with a book soon. It's called Laundry and Love Notes. Can you tell us about the process for making that project come to fruition?
I always wanted to do a compilation of different poetic pieces, but when I started to put everything together, I decided like this would be really powerful as a memoir and to tell in a chronological sort of way to show my growth. And doing so really was revealing, because it helped me to see like the reader can follow along and see like, oh, like she was talking about this specific guy, or she was doing this, and it was just a very cathartic process for me to be able to expose myself in that way and to be like, here are some mistakes that I've made here, you know. And so that's kind of what how I came about the actual structure of the book. But just the reason that I'm also publishing is just to be able to share my experiences with other people.
Awesome. And I know your medium of choice most of the time is filmmaking, and I know you're in school to further develop that craft in addition to your writing. What are some projects that you're working on now? I know that you've done a lot looking at personal identity, especially around young Muslim identity. So can you give us an update on what you have in the works?
Okay, well, I have a lot of things in the works, but one of the main projects is a feature-length script that I've been working on called Salam, which means peace in Arabic, and it's a coming-of-age story that looks at the sexual kind of development and identity development of a young black Muslim girl in the Bay Area in 1999, kind of pre-9/11, and her way of, you know, growing and really finding out who she is and being more comfortable with being a Muslim during that time. It is semi-autobiographical, but I have worked to really fictionalize it and give it a really different slant than my own upbringing, and I'm on the fourth draft of that script right now. And I have a trailer for it, and I'm really looking to get that out and direct it in the near future. And a lot of my my films and a lot of my poetry actually deals with like coming of age, getting to know young girls, getting to know their bodies, and popular culture, the impact of that on them. So,
I mean, both of you, I think, are expert in tying the relationship of personal and political. And what empowers you, you think? Like, what are some of the sources outside of Poetry for the People that give you the strength to really put yourself out there? Because it is, when you're sharing your story, it's a very vulnerable space to be in, and to be someone that you're saying, you know, I'm going to share my voice so that others may not have to experience what I experienced, or they don't have to feel alone. Where do you think you draw that strength from to be able to be so kind of bare?
I mean, I definitely draw my strength from other people who I see, you know,
doing it,
expose themselves to. I mean, I'm inspired by your work, you know, as well. Like, for sure, like other people who are really vulnerable and expressing themselves, it just gives me that extra sort of push to be able to share my own work too. And recently I started a blog too, where I'm kind of just like laughing at myself and kind of telling my tales and stuff. And so it's really, it can be really fun to kind of bear yourself and stuff. And then it's such a growing process, so.
And I like the emphasis that it doesn't always have to be so serious, so we can laugh at ourselves as well. I know there's a lot of deep stuff that we're always carrying around, which is good to get out and share. But there's also a lot of laughter and joy that we can be sharing with each other. What about you, Nijla?
I actually recently have got this renewed interest in my grandmother's life. She's actually deceased, but in her lifetime, she was never really able to, like, you know, share her pain or like really take time to express it or like own her own story. So I'm trying to develop a film around her life and just looking at the silences that a lot of like women or black women during that time, you know, had to live with, and really bringing it out into voice.
If you can share a time where you wanted to express something, maybe you wrote this poem, it was really amazing and you're really proud of yourself, and then it came to that point of maybe sharing it and getting it out there and having to face the fear of like, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready to let this go yet, but still finding the courage in yourself. What, you can walk through that process of where and how you found that courage to kind of let that happen. It looks like Nijla is nodding her head with it.
When I have a chapbook of poems called In the Veins of Fallen Leaves, and it includes poetry that covers years of my life that is very vulnerable, that talks about my family in a very intimate way, about my own personal struggles with identity, with sexuality, and I was very, very fearful of releasing that chapbook into the world. You know, thinking about my family and how they would feel, thinking about, do I really want to put my own self out there? But when I performed those works, I would get a number of women who would come up to me afterward and say, thank you so much for reading that poem, because that's exactly how I feel. I just haven't found the words to say it yet. So when I would hear those women come up to me, I would know that this work is needed, and it helps. It's helping young women. It's helping people to write their own stories. So it still is weird because my family did not react in the happy way. Some people were not happy with the poetry, but I still continued with it, and I let them know that it was all out of love. Like, every poem I write is out of love for anybody. So that was really a period where I was very scared about revealing that work, because it's one thing to be in poetry for the people and to be in collectives
and have a safe community,
where it's accepted, and be with poets and writers, but putting something into the world where it becomes no longer yours, it becomes people's. It's a very scary process.
So for those out there that might be sitting on a poem, sitting on a film, sitting on a book, sitting on just maybe saying something to somebody in their life that they want to, or in a classroom, anywhere, just struggling to find the confidence and the power of their voice, what would you say to them?
I would definitely say just start by being really honest with yourself. That's the first step. Like, you have to be willing to admit, you know, whatever it is, whatever is challenging for you to admit, you have to first be able to admit it to yourself, whether that be just by, you know, writing it in a journal or kind of starting with that. And I think that's the first step to being able to express that, then to, you know, a loved one, or then to the general public.
So you're going to be able to check them out online. Alicia Zakon's book is going to be coming out, and you can find out more information at laundryandlovenotes.com. And Nijla also has a website where you can look at all of her writing, her filmmaking, and I know you have two of those. You have sweetpotatopieproductions.com.
Yeah, sweetpotatopieproductions.com, and then I have a blog that they can just click on a link and it'll take you there. So.
Okay, so if you didn't know about these amazing young women and their voices, now you know.